The Auburn Blitz Podcast, your direct source for all Auburn all the time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz Podcast here on this Wednesday morning. We're glad that you joined us wherever and whenever it is that you tune us in each and every day and make an Auburn Blitz part of your daily Auburn athletic intake. Brett and Randy here with you here on this Wednesday morning. A lot to dive into, positive and negative, unfortunately. But again, we're glad all of you have hit the subscribe button out there that have done that. If you have not done that yet, please do that. We would greatly appreciate that, helping us get over 10,000 subscribers this past weekend. Really means a lot to us and help us continue to grow by spreading the word as well. Our program brought to you each and every day by Sensagreen for air that's cool and clean. Call on Sensagreen. They are the carrier experts here in the state of Alabama, saving you thousands of dollars on new installs and on your power bill if you get a brand new unit. So go call Sensagreen. Again, glad to have them part of our program. Scout Program Management, a full construction management firm located in Birmingham, Alabama, taking you from the pre-construction planning phases all the way to the finished product. You're spending millions of dollars. You're trying to get a new building, a new school, a renovated building. Scout Program Management is the team that will lead you through that process. Call on them. They're located in Birmingham, Alabama. And Bunkers in downtown Auburn on West Glen, 50 parking spaces in the parking garage. You never have to worry about where you're going to park downtown, which is always a nightmare now in Auburn. The simulated bays in there, you can go in there with your friends, your family, whatever, and hang out. 2 bars, great food. Why would you not go to Bunkers? I don't know what's wrong with you if you ain't been to Bunkers. Get on out to Bunkers now. All right, Randy, first things first, media days. We all kind of speculated who Auburn would take the media days, and I thought, it was the right ones. When you look at Jackson Arnold, as you named him the starting quarterback coming out of spring, most of the time you take your quarterback. Oklahoma took him last year, so I would think Auburn would take him this year if they named him the starter. The anchor of the offensive line, Connor Lew. We all know what kind of player Connor Lew is and the expectations of what he's going to do this year, and the anchor on the defense, Keldrick Falk. I mean, pretty much a unanimous preseason All-American pick and a first-round draft pick by most analysts out there. So 3 really good representatives going to Atlanta next week for Auburn.
Yeah, I agree. I think all 3 of them probably the ones to take. It's easy to sit here and wonder how someone that really hasn't been on your campus but a few months is the one that you take over. That's a little odd to me. When this first started, it really was juniors and seniors that would go. Right. It was leadership that had been around the campus that were probably on leadership panels within the team. And now it's more the players that are expected the most of. And so that at times can be a transfer quarterback that's coming in from a different SEC school and happens to be Jackson Arnold this year for Auburn. So I don't have a problem with it. I mean, if you took Jackson Arnold out and you sent Cam Coleman over there, I'd probably personally understand it a little bit more. Right. Just because, he has been on campus. He has played an entire season with Auburn. Is he going to take the reps at quarterback? Of course not. But look, I'm going to say it until the season starts and until I'm proven wrong. There's still a lot of question marks around that quarterback position for Auburn. And until they're answered, a lot of the questions that we have about this football program as a whole is going to be still up in the air.
Yeah, you hate to continue to, pound the nail, but the quarterback position in football, maybe in all sports, is the most important position. It's the straw that stirs the drink. And in the inconsistency Auburn's had at that position, I think we had a pretty daggum good team last year. I mean, a team that was in every football game, a team that lost 4 or 5 games by less than 2 scores. And a lot of it, unfortunately, and that's part of the position you're going to get blamed, revolved around poor quarterback play from Peyton Thorne, bad decisions. Now, You can say, well, it wasn't all his fault. Well, it wasn't all his fault, but that's how imperative good quarterback play is. And when you have a guy like we've had in the past, Cam Newton, Nick Marshall, Jarrett Stidham, who can go out there and improvise and make plays, and maybe the right exact play hasn't been called by the coaching staff, but they're good enough to improvise. Good quarterback play can outshine a lot of bad play calls. But when you're not very good at improvising and you have to almost be dependent on the right play to be called. I mean, Jason talked about this with us back last year. The pressure on that staff to always have to make the right play call in every situation was just almost too much to bear. So going back and looking at this, Jackson Arnold, I guess you're trying to send a message that he's the leader of your team. When you go down this list of guys that all these other teams selected, Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt is going, DJ Lagway from Florida is going, Lenore Sellers from South Carolina is going, John Mateer, who just got to Oklahoma, he's going. I mean, I can keep going down the list. Most of the time, teams take their quarterback if they feel like they're the leader.
And I understand why, because a lot of the questions are going to go with him. So you may as well have him there to answer those questions. And if you don't take him, then that brings up a whole nother set of issues, which is, are you not confident enough to bring your quarterback over here to media days because you're not sure if he's going to be your starter throughout the season? So I get it. I don't think you have a choice. I think you send a message by bringing him. And look, I'll stick with that until I'm proven wrong. We're all here to cheer Jackson Arnold on. We hope and pray as Auburn football fans that are expecting a better product than we've been getting for way too long that he is the answer, Brett, but we don't know that. I mean, he didn't prove that he was the answer at Oklahoma last year. He's got another opportunity at Auburn. He's in a system with Hugh Freeze that matches what he came out of high school being expected to be one of the top quarterbacks in college football. So if he doesn't make it work this year, he's not good enough to do it. So I've got to trust that the head coach that our administration and leadership have put in place thinks he's got his guy. And until we're proven wrong, I'd suggest all of us stick with that, knowing that there's a freshman quarterback waiting in the wings that ceiling's as high as Deuce Knight. And I feel a lot better about our quarterback room knowing that guy's in there more than the ones that we've had waiting in the wing over the last decade or so.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was proven last year when when it didn't work out with Peyton Thorne early in the season. You went to Hank Brown, and, unfortunately didn't work out. Then Holden Geriner could never get on the field, so you were back to Peyton Thorne, and at that point, it was what it was. I mean, you'd already kind of gone down through there, and things weren't working out, and you just had to figure out a way to ride throughout the season. That's why you went 5-7. So hopefully we won't look in the rearview mirror on that much longer. We'll be looking forward, and again, it'll be interesting. John said, what news flash or flashes do y'all expect in Atlanta next week, if any? I actually think this media days is going to be more interesting than we've seen media days in quite some time. I
agree.
I'll let you elaborate. Why do you think so?
Well, I'll start with the quarterbacks, not necessarily just the quarterbacks, but there's a lot of question marks at each of these schools and some of our best schools about whether they have the right guy there to win football games. So just communication from the coaches on how they feel about those guys. Of course, the answers will be cookie cutter, but I'm intrigued just to hear the coaches talk about them. But that's not the thing that really is going to resonate the most here in this media days. I think the outcry from the coaches on NIL and transfer portal and the gray area that they're forced to recruit in and deal with right now. I don't think there's going to be a single coach that's going to go over there and not scream at the top of their lungs that this system's broken and we've got to fix it. Do you, Brett? I mean, that if I were a coach now, let's just take differing sides to the information that we saw coming out yesterday and some of the bunker talk and some. I'm
going to read what some of the stuff coming out of the Big 12 media days is.
But let's just take both sides of it. You and I like to do this. By the way, if you ever hear me and Brett in a fight, we were in a knockdown drag out yesterday, but we enjoy doing that. Most of the time I like egging him on just because I know that I'll get a different view from Brett if you get him riled up enough. And so I'm gonna take the Alabama side and you take the Auburn here.
Sure.
If I'm out here recruiting and competing with everyone else in the conference and throughout the country, because you look at these commit lists for your top 10 programs, they're all over the country. They're not just here in the state of Alabama, they're everywhere.
Right.
And if I'm going to spend as much time, resources, and money with my assistant coaches to go out there and recruit, and it gets to the time of the year where these recruits are making their picks because they want to get them in before the season starts, wouldn't you? I mean, I'd want my recruiting process to be done with by the end of July if I was a high school senior and everyone in the country keeps badgering the hell out of me. I want them away from me so I can play my last year knowing that I've got my deal in place. My money's coming in December. My family's happy. We got a few months to plan on them moving over there with me or doing whatever they need to do. So all of these things are different conversations than we had 20 years ago. So Brett, I think that if I'm Alabama, if I'm Ohio State, if I'm others that Auburn people right now would like to throw darts at and go, well, they're committing money that they don't know if it's going to go towards that cap or it's questioning whether that NIL allotment's going to go towards that cap. And I'll let you read all of that. But my point is you got to compete. So I've got to know what my competition's doing and at least do that. And if I come back and I get slapped on the wrist for it, I just, I'm sorry. I take credit. I didn't understand the gray area, but I'll be damned if I'm going to spend all this time and money and not make an offer to a Cedarian Morgan or someone else that I don't think is like to an opposing team that's going to make an equal offer. Am I in the wrong for doing what 90% of everyone else is, or am I supposed to take the stance that Auburn seems to be taking and saying, look, we're not doing anything to August 1. We're waiting for all of this to come down the line. Then we'll go back out there and try to sway these kids towards our direction. I'm of the opinion that you're taking a major risk. If your risk weighs in on, I need high school kids. Now, if your philosophy changes, which I'm not negative against this, Brett, at all. If your philosophy goes to, I'm going to get as many good high school kids for the money that I feel they're worth, but I'm not going to take a kid that I think's worth $500,000 and pay him $1.5 million. I'm going to keep that money on the side and I'm going to go out after the Eric Singletons of the world. If that's your new philosophy in college football, I'm not sure you're not right. The more that you look at Auburn's potential first-round draft picks next year, there's only one of those guys, unless you want to throw Connor Lew in there. But I think there's really three of them that are legit first-round draft picks for Auburn. Two of them are transfers. Two of them we're paying a lot of money to get them over here. And in order to pay a lot of money to get them over here, you got to have a lot of money sitting on the sideline to do that. So I'm not knocking the coaching staff if that's the philosophy that you're going with, Brett, but I think you get where I'm going. I take the side that if I do look at certain athletes and I do want them and I've spent a year or two recruiting them, I'd be damned if I'm going to lose them by not making an offer that's like to equal to some of the competition I'm up against.
You know, I think you're right. I think herd mentality. I said that yesterday. Safety in numbers. We talked about that on Saturday too. I mean, I don't have. And I said this to you guys a couple of times over the last several days. I don't have any confidence that a new sports commission is going to come in and start burning everybody.
Agree.
Because I've just lived the NCAA incompetence for so long. Now, all of a sudden, you form this new committee with this new guy in charge. He's going to come in and start telling everybody they're not doing it right. And, you know, I'm sorry you didn't know how to read the rules, but I'm about to put all these stiff penalties on you. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. To kind of even go further in more news, and another reason why I think this media days is going to be so crazy about this topic as a whole, you've got now through NIL Go the bigger universities, the more prominent universities are coming out saying, well, you're saying that there's a cap and there's NIL value that you're analyzing, which first of all, I don't know how this committee can evaluate, tell somebody how much they're worth, but that's neither here nor there. But they're coming in saying, well, if that kid's going to Ohio State or Auburn or Alabama or Florida or Georgia, they should have a higher ceiling and a higher value because our brand is bigger than if you go to Murray State or if you go to Toledo, or
of course.
And it's a valid point.
It's a great point.
It's a valid point. So now, what are you setting yourself up for? Like I said yesterday on the show at lunch, you're setting yourself up for another whole batch of lawsuits when the NIL goes in and goes, no, we're going to evaluate everybody across the board equally. And on the flip side, the school, and somebody brought it up yesterday, and I can't remember, I think it was Ed, said that the schools, if you do it that way, you start viewing it that way, now you are giving a distinct advantage to those bigger schools. And the other schools now, even though you've got the transfer portal and all this NIL stuff and everybody's got a salary cap, now you're viewing their athletes at a different level than you're viewing the ones that are going to some of these smaller schools. So you're creating discord again. I mean, it's just every time you make a set of rules, everybody's they're blowing holes in it. So, going back to some of the stuff we talked about yesterday, and the speculation of, and Luke and I had a talk yesterday on the phone. I won't go into detail, but he and I both agree. I mean, I think everybody is out here doing nefarious stuff, and whether intentionally or unintentionally or whatever, we've been hearing in all these circles about people lying. And, you heard John Cohen and Hugh Freeze saying, and they've been saying this for months, that, the day's coming where they're not going to be, some of these schools aren't going to live up to what they're saying. Well, Ross Dellinger, that writes for Yahoo Sports, is obviously reporting stuff from Big 12, came out and said schools are, and this is quotes from coaches and stuff, schools are guaranteeing third-party NIL collectives are paying recruits, and $50 million front-loaded rosters are here. As the NIL clearinghouse is mired in legalities, Big 12 coaches say cap circumvention is happening already. And in quotes, people are lying and promising fake things. Okay, I had a coach. I ain't saying who it was. You can guess who you think I talked to. But I had a coach tell me to my face that he called another coach and said, why are you telling these guys this? And that coach at another prominent school said, I have to, coach. I got to do what I got to do right now. I'll worry about the rest down the line. So from an integrity standpoint, if you are trying to look at it and say, I don't want to be somebody that promises a kid and a family something, and then 4 months later I have to come back and say, well, all that stuff we promised you, I ain't going to be able to deliver it, because I think you already know where I'm going. The blame is going to be put on this committee. And,
yes.
And they're all going to say, well, it isn't us. We didn't want to pull the offer. We thought we had the money, but now because of all this other crap, we can't offer you what we said we're going to offer you. And it's going to open up people going different places. I really believe that there'll be some moving around late, and I don't know how much movement will be. But, I mean, this is what you're hearing, man. Their people are just – because they don't know what to do. Nobody really knows what to do.
So if and I'm gonna go back to my comment earlier, and I'll use a couple of names from Auburn, and I'm not talking about specific circumstances, but I'm going to use a couple of names because I respect them, and I think they're great at what they do. And I'm going to bring up Marcus Davis. I think he's an outstanding recruiter. I think he's an outstanding coach. I think he's a likable human being. I hope he stays at Auburn for the next 25 years, kind of like Joe Witt did.
Right.
But if he doesn't, he goes on somewhere else, I expect nothing but greatness to come out of it. I'll throw that out there.
Right.
Let's say you're that man. You've been recruiting multiple kids for 2+ years, and you get down to the line where it's like, okay, you are 2 or 3 other guys that are good too.
Yeah.
I mean, whoever Alabama's choosing to go out there and recruit 5-star athletes is not bad at their job. Same in any business. I mean, the people that you and I compete with on a daily basis is not the people that run poor businesses. It's the ones that run really good businesses. And it's not, they didn't create really good businesses by being incompetent and not good at their job. So my point is got to be exceptionally frustrating for coaches and assistant coaches where the expectation is they are the reason that you're going to go out there and you're going to get your program to the next level, and they don't know the rules. None of us do. Nobody knows the ground rules. So I really feel for them, Brett. I do. I feel for and I especially feel for the ones that are part of programs trying to do it the right way. Because what is the right way?
Yeah.
And I bring that up to anybody that's listening in out there. I'm an Auburn guy. I appreciate businesses that are run the right way.
Ethically.
People that do it ethically. Now, don't get me wrong. I've dealt with some people at Auburn University that I would question. And I'm sure that any of them that are listening, that they'll probably know who I'm talking about. There's several of them that like, boy, you sure do read the Auburn Creed, but you don't live by it from what I've dealt with. But my point is, I'm an Auburn graduate. You're an Auburn graduate. Our parents are as well. I love the place, or I wouldn't be on here talking about it and wouldn't have spent my money and wouldn't be living there and all the other things that can be positive to say about Auburn. But you don't want to be an outlier sitting out there on the island thinking that you're the one that's going to do everything right and everyone else is just not doing it the right way. Man, because it really feels that way right now, Brett.
No, it is that way. And I think that's the thing that you look at when you go to media days. And if every single coach is going to be asked how they're handling this.
Yes.
So if 15 other coaches say they're doing it this way and Hugh Freeze says we're doing it this way, it's even, I said this yesterday on the show, it's going to be even more of a glaring issue after next week when all of these coaches are asked verbatim the same question and they're all going to have to respond to it. And we're going to hear from their mouth how their school is approaching this and what they feel like is the right way to manage the salary cap. And again, you and I can sit here and people can point fingers and they can say, well, that's Auburn being over there, acting like they're better than everybody. So, no, I can actually take a step to the side and say, on the ethical side, I appreciate if they're really doing it that way. I appreciate them trying to do it the right way. But if everybody else, I credited it to somebody, a bunch of guys taking off in a race, right? And everybody gets 2 or 3 miles up the road and you still hadn't left the start line. And you're like, I got them because they're about to hit a roadblock up there and I'm going to catch up with them. And you're banking on there being a roadblock up there. Guess what? If there's not a roadblock and you get started 4 miles behind everybody else, well, guess what? You're getting left in the dust. And so Auburn's banking on there being a roadblock. And that's that CSC. It's that new sports commission is going to come in and say, all of you have been looking at this the wrong way. And so now you got to retract or you got to pull back or we're going to hit you with all these massive penalties. And look, it may happen.
What do you think the percentage of that happening is?
I said less. I mean, I just told you a minute ago, I don't have any confidence that a brand new sports commission is going to come in and police anybody like this. Because right out of the gate, when something's new, you can claim ignorance. Now, if this has been going on for 10 years and you did this, they would say, okay, man, you've been in this for 10 years. You know the rules. I'm not buying that. But everybody is new to this. So if it is this way, and again, I go back to why are we interpreting all this? Why isn't there just a set of cut and dried rules that you look at and go, this is what you can do and this is what you can't do? I mean, nobody knows that. Everybody, I mean, if you Google it, you get one story over here and you get one story over here. So it is going to be the sports commission's task to figure out how to police all this. But I don't think if there's 40 Power 4 schools over here doing it one way, it may be just 1, 2, or 3 over here doing it the other way. They're gonna scold and they're gonna burn those 40 schools. I just don't think it's going.
Well, and we'll end on media days with this, and I think you're dead on, Brett. I think that you're going to get a less politically correct media days than you had in a very long time.
I think so.
And it's because I think the coaches, the administration understand that the fans, that is the reason they have these jobs and the reason that they're doing what they're doing and the reason these kids have the opportunity to make the kind of money that they're making, are tired of it. And when you know that everybody's on your side, it gives you a lot of credence to go up there and speak your mind. So I do
Right.
think it's going to be interesting, and it will be. I'm interested to see how everyone's interpreting things, because it has to be different. Look, common sense tells me it's way different. Am I saying that Auburn's equaled Alabama and Georgia? No, I'm not saying on the field that we've been equal to them. But in the recruiting fronts, we've won a lot of battles with them the last couple of years.
We have.
So I don't just think this year, all of a sudden, because we had another poor season last year, that all of a sudden we're not going to win any battles.
Yeah, that's no.
not realistic, man.
No.
That's common sense tells me that we're doing something different than the rest of them are doing it. And I'd like to hear from the horse's mouth, like we did last week at Ambush. I think you and Faith took a lot away from Ambush last week. I watched you. You know, an hour after you were in the room with the media room with all of them talking, I mean, I heard what you said. It was kind of eye-opening. It was a little bit different spin than you and I had been talking about, and Luke from the Bama side had been talking about. And every year that I've gone to that, I thought the same thing. You know, I'll never forget a couple of years ago, we left with Bruce Pearl speaking, and we go, man, I don't guess I realized how much state legislation goes into how they're going to be able to play this recruiting game moving forward. I didn't think about it that way. Or I didn't think about, we don't need to build a new basketball facility for them to practice in because we need that cash to go and get players, or we're not going to have a successful program. I didn't think about it that way. So
Right.
Media Days this year gives us a chance to hear more comments like that, that give more talking points into a topic that I know you and a lot of you that out there that are tuning in are tired of hearing about. But, you know, during the off season, when we don't have actual football to talk about or practices to talk about, it's the topic that's top of mind for too many of us.
Well, it is the topic here in the off season. It's dominated the sport and all the other fingers that come off of it. This is just football. We know that it affects all sports, and that's more for another day. But one more thing, Pete Neckos for On 3, and he really covers the transfer portal and all this NIL stuff. He tweeted out a few days ago, there's more fake cash being thrown around right now than there was 4 years ago. And then he wrote yesterday that there's a story coming out today on NIL collectives waiting on deals to be processed via NIL clearinghouse, while recruiting spending is just off the charts. It's soaring. So he asked a source if it is harder to win a recruitment than it was 2 years ago, and the guy said 1,000%. It's 1,000% to win, harder to win a recruitment battle right now than it was 2 years ago. And if you look at Auburn's recruiting classes the last 2 years, last year they're number 6 in the country. Okay, and they were number 6 transfer portal class. I mean, if me and you were told Auburn was going to have the number 6 class forever, moving forward,
take it.
You take it right now and say, it's almost like, you know, do you want this money now or do you want this spread out over time? I will take that number 6 ranking every year, because you're getting quality players, solid enough to compete for championships if you're up there at number 6. But you don't go for, like you said, from 6 to 84th. You don't do it. And I don't care that Auburn was 5-7 last year and they had 4 losing seasons. I mean, all these other schools that have sucked forever, what's their explanation for being in the top 20 right now? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And Luke even said this Saturday, he said, I don't care what planet, what time of the year, whatever, Auburn should never be 84th in recruiting ever. And they shouldn't.
Well, common sense tells you that, and it tells you that we're doing something that others aren't. And so it's going to be interesting to hear about it. Rolling over to some other topics, Brett, when you look at this football team, though, heading into the fall, not long before we'll be out there practicing.
Right.
And so I look forward to, also hearing from them on some players that maybe most didn't expect as much of, and who will we see jump into the fray? And, I get a feel of that for Auburn. It was tough news coming out. I'm here in Dadeville, Alabama yesterday. So, one
Right.
that I had a coworker of mine say, I think Auburn, he said, I don't know, but I think I just watched an Auburn player get arrested up the gas station on 280, Brett, right here at the truck stop, by the way, on 280 is where it happened. And so maybe you want to go into that. I hate to hear it. I covered him in high school. We called it a state championship game. He made a play in that state championship game.
He won the game.
If he didn't make that play against KJ Lacey, they don't win it. Great open field tackle to get them over the hump. But I guess very questionable on whether he's going to be an Auburn Tiger moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a secret. It's out everywhere. Everybody's reported it. DJ Barber from Clay Chalkville, redshirt freshman, was expected to, be in the rotation this year at linebacker. Got pulled over, like you said, in Dadeville, and in 2.5 pounds of marijuana, THC vapes, had scales and packaging for marijuana, and almost $2,000 in cash and a handgun. When you put all that stuff together, that, all of that stuff is bad, but when you put all that stuff together, it becomes a trafficking charge, and that's when it becomes very serious. So, that's all we know right now. That's all anybody knows. I don't think Coach Freeze or anybody from Auburn has even made a statement about this yet. So I think we'll all wait and see what happens. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty stiff, some pretty stiff penalties facing he and the young man that was in the car with him. So I'm sure Auburn will have no choice but probably to dismiss him based on this. I'm just assuming. It sucks because another really good player on Auburn's roster won't be there now. And at a position where I think Auburn needed some depth at linebacker, you're not gonna have him available now. But again, look, you and I kind of had a conversation off the air before we got on here, and we are definitely not, saying it's acceptable or whatever in society. But I'm just going to be frankly honest. I can't go anywhere anymore without smelling dope. I mean, it is so prominent out here in society. I smell it more than I do a cigarette. I mean, and again, I'm not giving, this is not me saying anything other than this. If you play that game and you get caught, you're going to have to pay the penalties. But it has just become so prevalent in our society. And I think you and I were saying, we're not saying it's the norm, but it's kind of out here for the taking.
Well, I think the thing that catches you off guard is you would think that if you are a college athlete and now you do have the availability to make money, you do have all expenses taken care of, you would hope and pray that it would give a lot of those kids a chance to not do those nefarious things that we suspect have gone on with athletes forever. But then you live in reality that, when it's what you grow up in and it's what it's kind of hard to get away from it.
Right.
And, so I hope we're both wrong, that maybe Auburn gives them another chance.
Yeah, I mean,
works his way out of this and ends up learning a lesson. But
haven't heard of him having any problems at all.
I had never heard anything in high school.
Hey, here's the good thing. When was the last time you heard of anybody? Like, it has been a long time since you've heard an Auburn football player's name come up in something off the field, an issue, a problem. I mean, unfortunately, back in Gene Chiswick's era, Boy, it was about you held your breath about every week. Who's going to have a handgun, or who got caught with this, or why did they do this? I mean, it got rough for a while. I mean, there was some serious stuff that went on, and man, we've been on a really good run at Auburn of people not really. I mean, everybody toeing the line and doing the right thing, which is great.
Well, it was the big positive of Gus Malzahn. I mean, I thought Gus Malzahn, I'm not saying he didn't have some negative guys, but for the most part, he had respectable men that
Right.
were part of that program during that stretch. I really believe that. And so, but we'll see how that all plays out. That's definitely a need position for Auburn. And
Oh, absolutely. No doubt. All right.
do you have time to roll anybody else into that position to try to give you some backups?
Let's get a couple more of our partners. Sure Shot in Alexander City. Again, can't say enough about Sure Shot for firearms, apparel, hunting. They sell and trade new and used firearms. They have a gun safety class. I think all of you out there that want to own a handgun, want to know how to do it the right way, go check them out. And Scott Watson, man, and his staff are so good. And if you're, I've said this a bunch, they've got safes. And if you got things in your house, they're irreplaceable. And you just never know when something could happen, a fire or whatever. You need to have that stuff protected, and go get you a safe. You don't have to be a gun owner to have a nice safe to keep some things that are heirlooms, or things that have gone through generations in your family, that if something were to happen, you could not replace it. Make sure you go to Sure Shot. They've got a full line of safes. They can order it and they can help you get it to your house because they're really heavy. But make sure you call on them. And again, they've got all the ammo and everything that you're looking for. I know we'll blink and it'll be time for deer season coming up. My gosh, we're already in July. It's just crazy how fast time's going by. So go check out Sure Shot in Alexander City, right there on Highway 280 in Oliver Ross, a full service bar management team that will come out and serve your party of a private party of 10 to 15, all the way up to a convention of 20,000. Fully licensed and certified bartenders that will handle everything to perfection. So go check their Instagram page out. It's awesome. And call on Oliver Ross. I know there's a lot of fraternity and sorority parties that'll be coming up in the fall. Oliver Ross is your source there for that. So make sure you go check them out. All right. Shifting over, one final thing. Auburn does pick up a commitment. And according to ESPN, Randy, the number one inside linebacker in the country. From West Palm Beach, Florida. Again, in a couple weeks of bad news when it comes to recruiting, here's a shining star, Adam Balgoon Ali. I probably butchered that, but I apologize. 6'2", 210 pounds. Ranked a 4-star on some sites, ranked a 3 on others, but chose Auburn over Kentucky, Missouri. Had 35 offers. I went down through there. Had Florida on the list. I mean, I could just go on down the list. Had a lot of good offers, but looks like a really good player. Again, anytime a recruiting service has you listed at the top in your position, just for reference, they had Shadarius Tootle ranked 3rd. Okay, so we knew how bad we wanted Shadarius Tootle. So Auburn picks up Balgoon Ali here. So again, Auburn needed some positive news in recruiting.
Yeah, they did. And you do have to remember that it's early. I think the hard part of living in the state of Alabama is when Alabama goes on a run like they have the last few weeks in recruiting, and how many 5-stars do they have now, Brett? Like 6 of them. That
I lost count.
You almost get frustrated to the point of, man, are we going to get anybody? But then you realize there's a whole bunch of players that maybe aren't quite to that level.
Right.
Very, very well respected players that you need to go and close on if you're confident you're not going to get back into the game with some of the others. And I would suspect here in the next month or so, Auburn's going to I don't think this staff forgot how to recruit.
Oh, they
really believe that. So, I mean, if they had a 1A player that we didn't get, 1Bs are probably about to pop onto the scene for Auburn, and we'll close the game out with getting some of them. And if we can get a couple of flips late in the process, so be it. But I'm here to watch who those players are. And, here's the thing that I would look into is how much of the country is Auburn recruiting in
Right.
compared to our competition? Let's watch and see if Auburn gets a little bit more national in their recruiting, the same as we did with quarterback. I mean, nobody
Right.
saw that one coming out, and that one was out of left field. So if you miss on some in competition with the Floridas and the Tennessees and the Alabamas and the Georgias of the world, maybe you can go out west and you can go up in the Northeast and win some battles to pull some guys that are respected down into the South and down into Alabama that would appreciate an SEC offer. And maybe that's the direction Auburn goes in high school this year.
I will say a bright spot for Auburn right now on this coaching staff is DJ Durkin.
Yeah.
Not only on the field and his coaching style, but, you know, he got Jacoby Miller from Texas A&M that's coming in. Is going to be an immediate impact player on the team this year. That connection. And then you look at being able to pull Balgoon Ollie right here. That's a DJ Durkin pull. And he talks about his connection with DJ Durkin and how he made him feel when he came and, you know, showing him exactly where he fits into the system at Auburn on defense. So, I mean,
look, people, the people I talk to, Brett, that I respect over in the Auburn area, he just quietly is becoming a name that most Auburn people respect.
right.
And appreciate the way that he goes about his business. You know, I can say I've been around him in a basketball gym quite a bit. My son and his son play for the same travel organization over there in Auburn. So I see him and I see the way that he interacts and how much he's involved. You know, you can watch a parent that's not overly involved, but they are there for their
Right.
kid and watch the way that they interact. And I've been able to witness that and know that he's a good family man. And people notice those things, Brett. They really do. You don't know who's all watching you and the way that you go about your life and your business, but people do. And DJ Durkin, do you hear very many negative comments about
I haven't
him,
heard
Brett?
any. I haven't heard any negative.
I don't either. I don't either. So maybe let's just watch the way this all plays out.
No doubt about it. All right, let's get to a couple more of our partners before we get off this morning. Again, we thank all of them, but glad to have Old Number One Customs on with us. And again, Jake Bartall and his group, really appreciate them. They'll be at my house in the upcoming month or so, getting ready to renovate our master bathrooms. Looking forward to him and his group coming over and renovating that for us. If you need a master bath rebuild or renovation or a kitchen or an outdoor living space, Old Number One Customs, go check out their Instagram page and look at the new outdoor living space that they just had. They just built. It's beautiful. So don't take our word for it. Go check them out. 334-752-6162 for that. And then JFA Blue Plumbing, also another one of his companies. They will come in and install the Home Atlas Water Duo filter system for $15.99 out the door. So providing purified water for you and your family is there's no price you can put on that. So you want to be drinking clean water. 844 JFA Blue is the number there. Randy, you got anything else you want to add before we get off?
No, just keep finding us out there. I'm telling you, we're busier than we've ever been. Our two locations in the Auburn market and Opelika are really booming. Sign Essentials under our umbrella now for those of you that we haven't been able to get to. And that's right off of Opelika Road there in Opelika. And then we have our new LMG building in Auburn. So find us 256-825-0197 with Lee Apparel and Sign Source. And we'd love to work with you. And Brett, talk to a couple of school people that you and I deal with on a consistent basis yesterday. One calling, inquiring about a Jumbotron digital board for their football stadium. We are in that business big time. We've got about 5 of them going on in the state right now. We're partnered up with Watchfire. There's a couple of other brands that are out there that are good products as well, but we've bought into what Watchfire is selling, and they've been outstanding to work with for us. So if you're in that market, whether it be a sign out by your school or a sign in front of your business as a digital board to tell more messages than just one, give us a phone call, 256-825-0197.
Couple comments before we get off. John said, has Durkin ever been a head coach? He has at Maryland. He was a head coach at Maryland, and then he went to Texas A&M as a defensive coordinator, and then now he is at Auburn. So Glenn said the other part, and just kind of going back through some of these, the other big part of all this is giving 17, 18-year-old kids that kind of money. True. I mean, again, especially when you've never handled that kind of money before, you kind of feel invincible. You go out, maybe do some things that you otherwise wouldn't do. John said, where does Clemson rank? Aren't they supposed to be doing things differently as well? I don't have the ranking right up in front of me, but Dabo Swinney he's just adamant against the transfer portal. And I know he's dabbled in it a little bit more here lately, but he was so anti-transfer portal. He's like, look, I'm just going to keep doing it the way I'm doing it with high school guys and let the chips fall where they may. Well, we all know if you don't use it, eventually it's going to burn you. So I think he's even coming around to the portal now.
Very good question, though, and it's one that we'll watch because a lot of people want to see the ones that are saying they're doing it the right way in comparison to the ones that don't.
Right.
How do they compete? And it's the reason Media Day is going to be so interesting this year.
Absolutely. Okay, everybody, we appreciate it. Andy and JJ will be on at noon today for the Auburn Blitz Show. Make sure you tune that in. We'll be back with you tomorrow for another Auburn Blitz podcast here at 8 o'clock. So, again, we appreciate it so much. Hope everybody has the best day ever and a big old war eagle out there to everybody.